Last of Us has a massive fan base. This is mostly thanks to the incredible story and features that the first game had. The second game, however, did not exactly go over quite as well. Now, HBO is creating a series based on the games, and they will have to learn from the mistakes of the past. Let's check out all the mind-blowing details and find out more about the show. Warning: massive game spoilers. Let's start with the story. This is one game that put in just as much effort into the storytelling as they did into the graphics and gameplay. And since those were really impressive too, it is no wonder that The Last of Us was a massive hit. Now the show is starting, and it sounds like they will keep the same basic story from the games. It takes place 20 years into a zombie outbreak that has affected loads of humans. Like that isn't horrible enough, these zombies also grow a fungus that infects, kills, and grows over animals, and that has now started to affect humans too. This is where we Ellie, a 14-year-old kid who was born during this time and knows nothing else. We also meet Joel, who is a smuggler who lived through the apocalypse and is seriously hardened. Their lives cross when Joel is asked by Ellie's guardian, Marlene, to escort the girl across the country. The two strangers quickly form a really close bond and become almost like father and daughter. But what neither of them know is that he is taking her to her doom. She is immune to the outbreak, having been bitten and being completely fine. At their destination, she will be killed to create a vaccine. Why she has to be killed, and they can't just make use of her blood or DNA, is sort of explained, even if it doesn't completely make sense. Part 2: Disasters. The first game was really good, and the franchise quickly built a very loyal fan base that was seriously hooked on the games and their outcome. It showed how incredible the game was because people were really emotionally invested in these characters. But that is when things went wrong. The first game did have its gore and scare factor. It is set in an apocalypse after all, but at its heart was a game about a father-daughter relationship and how they became close. It had a lot of heart, but Part 2 switched it up and became a gritty story all about revenge. I guess it could have worked, but the way they executed it divided fans, and not everyone felt that it did the game justice. The characters were doing things that were completely out of character. Plus, there were some massive plot holes. There is a 7-year gap between the games, and it makes sense that the characters would have changed, especially Ellie, who was a kid in the first one. But they never really gave a good explanation about why she changed so drastically and what happened during the time jump. The game was about the story, but they left us without big parts of it. Other reasons for the outcry. But there were also a few very specific reasons why fans did not like the new game's story. The first being that they killed Joel, and the moment wasn't even very big or momentous. It kind of just happened. He deserved better. Plus, fans were just left heartbroken by the death that they didn't think was needed. And then there was the fact that we were forced to see through the eyes of Joel's killer, Abby Anderson. It was a bit of a mess that created a massive rift in the fandom that used to be completely united in their adoration of the games. It has been a few years since the 2020 game launch, and there is still a massive division on whether this plot was brilliant or a horrible example of storytelling that was done just purely for shock value. And that is where it is going to get tricky for the series. Chances are good that the first season will be a massive hit, since it will be based mostly on the first game and the plot there. But what happens when they reach this controversial story from the second game? What they need to do? As I see it, the show has two options. One, they take the plot from the first game and absolutely kill it. Then the fans are hooked. They will have more freedom after that, and possibly even enough freedom to completely ignore the plot from the second game and never include it in the show. Just go in a completely different direction with these characters and act like the second game never existed. But there were fans that liked it, so then you will be in hot water with those fans. The other option, and the one that I think they will probably focus on, will be to fill in all the gaps that the games left. They need to properly build up to the events of the second game and ensure that it isn't such a shock. It has to make sense eventually, and they will need to ensure that the game builds it enough to make that happen. Plus, they really need to make Joel's death a lot more memorable. It needs to be a major plot point and not just a cliff note. Hopefully, if they manage to do that, then they will be able to make the event of Game 2 fit into the story and make it all make sense. It is a tall order, but would be awesome for the franchise if they can pull it off. Are you a fan of The Last of Us games? What was your take on Part 2? Did you like it or was it terrible? Let us know in the comments section. We love to hear from you. Next up, we will check out some more details of the show, how it will compare, and when we will get it. Stick with us to get all the details. How close will they keep to the story? The game did almost play out like a movie already, so there are a lot of great parts of the story in there, and it sounds like they are planning on respecting that, to an extent at least. Neil Druckmann, who is one of the writers and developers of the show, has said that they will even have some of the dialogues in the show directly as they came out of the games. But he did also warn that this is a completely different medium. They can't tell the story in the exact way that they would have in the games. They have to expand the world and make sure that the storytelling is the complete focus. Druckmann shared that parts of the storyline will deviate greatly to much better effect because we are dealing with a different medium. He also went on to say that some of his favorite episodes have been the ones that deviate from the story a lot, and that he can't wait for people to see them. Some of the smaller details like the outfits might also be different, but don't worry too much. They did say that all of their focus was on getting the core of these characters right and making sure that who they are doesn't change too much. Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie on the show, has also said that there are many fans on set, and they have said that it feels like walking into the game. When will the series be released? We have not received any official release date from HBO just yet, but we do know that the cast and crew of The Last of Us show has been hard at work to get it ready and perfect for audiences to enjoy. The filming seems to be pretty extensive. Hopefully, that means that the show will be really epic. It already began filming in July 2021 in Calgary, Canada, and it will take almost a year to film since it's set to wrap in June of 2022. The cast and the crew of the show have released a lot of photos from the set to get us hyped to see the show, but it might still be a while before that will happen. They also regularly give updates when an episode is wrapped, but no real details on how many episodes they still need to film. What we do know is that there will be 10 episodes in the first season and that they will each be about an hour long. To compare that to the game, the average playtime to complete the main story in the game takes around 15 hours. But since they are scaling it for a show, they will probably be able to tell a lot more story during those hours of the series. Will the show be epic? It sure sounds like it. The budget is reported to be massive, with some saying that each episode will exceed the 8-figure per episode mark, meaning that just one episode could cost more than $10 million to make. Reports say that just the lead actor, Pedro Pascal, who plays Joel, will receive around $6 million for the first season. That is huge, and we really hope that it is worth it. Are you excited to see the adaptation of The Last of Us? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.